You're listening to Bernadette Gold Unfiltered, which means you're ready for a new level in business, health, and life. Hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. No filter, no fluff. Let's go. I want to ask you something before we get into today's episode. Have you ever done everything right? You followed the strategy, took the course, hired the coach, went to therapy, read the books, built the plan, attended the workshop, but still ended up exactly where you started? Or worse, watched yourself sabotage the very thing you worked so hard to build right at the moment it started to work? That pattern has a name, and it's not a character flaw. It's actually a program. There's a profound difference between those two things. See, one's permanent, the other's a system, and systems can be changed. Today, we're going to go to the root of everything we've been building in this series because we talked about the attack on the middle class. We've talked about the cage, the comfort, the hero's journey. We talked about fear, employee mode, the thermostat, visibility freeze. And underneath all of it, every single pattern that we have named is a mechanism, a program, running silently, but running constantly, running your decisions, your reactions, even your perceptions, all without your conscious awareness or conscious consent. Now, I want to talk about something that I think most people have never heard explained quite this way: the ego. Not the inflated version, not the arrogant version, not the thing people mean when they say someone has a big ego. The real ego. The ego is the part of you that was designed to keep you alive. It is your survival mechanism, your protector, the part of you that learned very early what was safe and what was dangerous, what was acceptable and what would cost you in love, in attention, what kept you protected, and also what made you a target. It has been loyally executing on that information ever since you were a child. And we don't want to kill the ego. We can't kill the ego. And here's something else you probably haven't heard before. The ego is actually what gives us free will. It's the part of us that has the capacity to choose. But here's the problem. We don't really have free will, not genuine, conscious free will. If the programs the ego's running were created by other people when we were kids and had no choice, think about that for a minute. The programs that are running you right now, those beliefs about what you deserve, what's possible, what's safe, what you're allowed to have, most of them put there and installed before you were even 7 years old, before you could think critically, before you could question, before you had any framework for evaluating whether you were being taught something that was actually true. And the ego, your loyal protector, has been executing on those programs ever since. And it's not like it was wrong. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect you, based on the information that was available at the time, but is decades out of date. And here's the other thing I want you to understand about the ego that maybe you haven't heard other people say. The ego is the veil between you and your source, your creator, your higher self. The part of you that knows beyond the programs, the fear, or even the survival strategies. Exactly who you are and what you are here to do and to experience. The programs keep that knowing just out of reach. Not permanently, but until you see them. Now, let me show you what programs look like in real life, because they're not abstract. They actually show up in specific, recognizable daily patterns that most people have normalized so completely they can't see them at all. The first one is perfectionism. High achievers, and most of you listening are high achievers, carry this one like a badge of honor. You say things like, I have high standards. I don't settle for less than my best. I'm committed to excellence. And all of that may be true. But perfectionism, real perfectionism, the kind that keeps you revising the same page for the third week in a row, the kind that stops you from posting, from launching, from showing up, that's not a standard. That's a program. So let me ask you something about perfectionism that I don't think you've probably been asked before. Maybe you have. What is perfect? Seriously, define it. Because perfect's not a thing. Perfect is a perception. It shifts depending on who is looking, what they value, what moment they're in. There's no perfect. There's only done and not done, shipped and not shipped, done and out there, or still waiting for one more revision. Perfection keeps you inside the preparation stage indefinitely, which is the most comfortable place for the program to live, because you can't fail. It's something you never finish. That's what perfectionism is actually protecting you from. Not imperfection, completion. Because completion means if it's out there, it can be judged, it can be rejected, it can be seen and found wanting. And the program says better to keep practicing than to risk that. Now, this second program, and this one sits at the opposite end of the spectrum. Immediate gratification. Speed without foundation. We live in a world right now where the billionaire class has coined a phrase and handed it to an entire generation as a success philosophy. Build fast and break things. Move fast, launch now, figure it out later, ship it before it's ready, scale before the foundation exists. And I said in episode 2, and I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating, speed without foundation produces collapse. Every time. We're watching it happen in real time. The AI companies building without considering long-term consequences. The entrepreneurs launching without understanding what they're building or why. Creators scaling before they have anything real to say. And the personal version of this program looks like this. The person who jumps from idea to idea, who launches and pivots before anything has time to grow, who can't sit in the discomfort of building slowly. Because the program says, if it doesn't work immediately, it's not working. That's not ambition. That's a program. A fear response dressed up as momentum. Now, here's what both of these programs have in common. Perfectionism and immediate gratification look like opposites. One moves too slowly, one moves too fast. But they are both responses to the same thing: fear. The perfectionist is afraid of being seen as inadequate. The speed demon is afraid of being left behind. Different expressions, same root program. And neither one of those people is free. I want you to understand something about the billionaire class running this program at the largest scale. Their egos, unchecked, unexamined, running programs of dominance, control, and extraction with no consideration of long-term consequence, are the mechanism of the attack on the middle class. And that's not abstract. The layoffs, the consolidation, the dismantling of the social contract, the build fast and break things philosophy applied to people's lives and livelihoods, that's what an unchecked ego running on dominance looks like at scale. They want the us and them to remain. They benefit from the gap. They profit from our dependence. And they're not going to examine the programs driving that, because the programs are making them rich. But here's what they didn't account for. The people who do the inner work, who clear the programs, align the identity, and build from a healthy, conscious, intentional ego, are not controllable. They can't be laid off. They can't be restructured away. They can't be dependent on a system they no longer need. And the new energy rising right now, the energy that is replacing the dominance and extraction model, is being built exactly by those people. You're not just building a business. You're building a counter to the attack on the middle class. And that matters more than any strategy or tool or algorithm will ever tell you. And here's the moment I want you to watch for in yourself. The moment when someone points to a pattern and your body relaxes, not tenses, relaxes, because something in you recognizes the truth of it. That's the moment the program gets seen. And the moment it gets seen, something shifts. Hope returns. Not because the program's gone yet, but because you know what you're working with. You can connect the dots. And then you can see the pattern and how it showed up in your business, your relationships, your income, your visibility. And you can begin to question all of it. And that changes everything. Is this actually true? Or is this a program I inherited that I never consciously chose? That question, that one question, is the beginning of real free will. Not the free will the program pretends to offer. Real free will. The kind that comes from clearly, consciously choosing and building from who you actually are, not who the programs decided you were before you were old enough to have a say. That's the work. That is what this entire series has been pointing towards. And it's available to you, not someday, now. So here's the question I want you to sit with before episode 9. Which program has been running the longest in your life? And what would become possible if you finally saw it clearly enough to choose something different? I'll see you in episode 9. This is Bernadette Gold, Unfiltered.